Hello, hello. How is everyone tonight? Hope everyone is doing well. This is Amy from Seriously Sweet and Cookie Snack Attack. We are back for day one, part two of our first cutter in our holiday memory series. And tonight we are doing the gift tag, which I kind of disguised a little bit and told you guys it was just a gift tag when really it's a pressure piping floral with a beautiful poinsettia center and then a gift tag, because I'm sharing this into the Cookie Snack Attack group right now so we can get some more people on with us. It's not posting into that group by itself right now. So I've got that over there. I think that it's there. I think I can see it. I just want to make sure that everyone's with us. So the reason that I called it a gift tag is because how nice would it be for you guys to be able to attach something with a person's name in a beautiful heat sealed box, like in a little box, heat seal that box, make sure the bag is longer, and that way what you can do is attach it to the top of a present. So like for the kids, the nieces, the nephews, the grandkids, your family member, all of those people, you can just put a little extra special personalized deal with, I'm trying to get to where I can see you guys, put an extra little personalized deal with their presents this year. Wouldn't that be fun? All right, so a little housekeeping at the beginning, guys. If you haven't signed up for text alerts yet, you can do that by texting the word livestream to 540-870-0726. The full word livestream, all capital letters, to the number 540-870-0726. Follow the prompts and you will get text notifications. So let's say hello to a few people. I'm going to leave the information down at the bottom so that you can do that later on tonight if you want to while we're piping. Hey, how is everyone? Also, guys, don't forget this weekend is Cookie-a-thon. It starts on Friday. So today is Tuesday. So you have tonight, you have Wednesday, and you have Thursday to buy those extended access passes before the event starts, because the 18-month extended access passes go up in price once the event starts. So if you haven't done that yet, please jump over to the Seriously Sweet page or to the Cookie Snack Attack page and find in the announcements where I have pinned my affiliate link. And if you sign up under that, I get a little bit of a commission for teaching this year because Nancy is so incredibly generous. Nancy with the colorful cookie. So I am so excited about Cookie-a-thon. If you have the extended access pass, you know you could already start viewing. So you may already have seen my tutorial for this. It's such a cool extra large cookie that can be converted to be a cake topper, or it can be a feature cookie on your mantle if you do decorations on your mantle at Christmas, or if you want to use it for a centerpiece on your table. Just all kinds of fun things you can do. But that's what we're doing for that. And then also, last piece of housekeeping, I will leave this in the permanent video so you can go back and find it. But if you scan that, it's going to take you to all of the social media things that we have, or maybe most of them. Let's say that, because I think it takes you to our Facebook page. It takes you to our, that's a little better, huh? It takes you to our Facebook page. It takes you to our coffee site. I think it takes you to our webpage even. So that will be there for you if you want to rewatch the video later. And let's go ahead and say hello to a few people before we get rolling here. Hello, Miss Deborah. Hey, Patty, how are you? Oh, good. I'm glad it worked. All right, awesome. Hi, Debbie. How are you? Let's see. Hello from Utah. Hi, Camille. How are you doing today? Hi, Julie. How are you? Trisha, I just saw a post from you. That's exciting. Hey, Barbie. How was Texas today? Chilly or warm? Hey, Kat. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Mary. I hope everyone had a fantastic day. Sharon, you have to go. Okay, so watch later. We're going to have a fun time tonight. And Jennifer is here. Hey, what do you say, my friend? How was your day? Your profile picture cracks me up, Jennifer. I need you to put on like a elf thing or Christmas or Thanksgiving. I need you to switch that up because I start laughing hysterically every time I see it. Hey, Allison, we are back. We are back. Oh, good. 60% off your little Halloween cutters that we're going to use for Christmas. That's exciting. Hello, Cindy. Hello, hello. Let's see, who do we have here? Hi, Miss Sharon. Sharon is new to us. We're so glad you joined us at Cookie Snack Attack. Let's see, Miss Jennifer, update on the peach cobbler cookie. All in all, very tasty, but need more peach flavor. I'm not sad at all that I tried it. That's awesome. I'm so glad. If you decide you want to share that, I'm sure there's people in the group that would love to know. Let's see. That silver is so much fun, especially on showpiece cookies. It's so fun to do that technique, and it's so shimmery. It looks like antique mirroring, and I love that. Let's see. Hey, Teresa, how are you? Hi, Nicole. Hi, Elisa, how are you? Becky, hey, hey. Let's see. Elizabeth is here. Hello. All right, Miss Sharon, I am glad to see all of you tonight. And if more people join, you guys make sure you say hello over in the comments and say hi to everybody. I'm going to pick up now where we left off this morning. You can rewatch this morning's video where we talk about how we sketched everything out and what this is going to look like. Tonight, what we're going to do is do the evergreen sprig piping and the poinsettia and the little gold beads in the center and the poinsettia leaves. And then tomorrow I'm going to pop back on in the morning. I'm not going to tell you for sure what time because I have a couple of phone calls that are follow up for the unplugged retreat. You guys, I feel a little guilty because I think I undersold where we're going by a little bit. I think in trying to make sure your expectations weren't too high, I may have undersold the place because we went and had a little tour today and we got to see the conference center. So fingers crossed, lots of prayers said. I hope that that works out because that place is fabulous and you guys are going to really be excited about it. And I got to go in and see one of the rooms in the main building. I want us to try to all book in because there's like a whole bunch of, I'll show you a picture tomorrow, but there's a whole bunch of cabins that are like hotel room type buildings that have like 20 rooms, 10 upstairs, 10 downstairs in each of these separate buildings. And they all have a skyline view or a view of the valley below. So I got to see one of the rooms, and let's just say they've been remodeled since I was last there. These rooms were really nice, like not Hilton Anatoly KukiCon level rooms, but definitely not the super rustic things I prepared you for. In fact, I was quite shocked that there was large screen TVs. So there's that. I told you there weren't going to be TVs, but there are large screen TVs in there. There is Wi-Fi, but it's in the mountains and it's satellite. So it's spotty, but you have it. So you will be able to use cell phones. Of course, there's different areas up there within the Skyland area that it'll be easier for you to get Wi-Fi access. The only thing that is not in the room, there is not telephones in the room, but at the end of each of the buildings, there's what they call a house phone. So you can ring the front desk if your cell phone isn't working. So I think I undersold it a smidge, but it was beautiful. It's very, very beautiful. And also we might go a little earlier rather than a little later. We might still be able to get in May, and it's a little cheaper if we do that, and we'll all be more clustered together if we do that, because after May, there's already people that have reserved a lot of different areas up there, so we can't necessarily all get in the same area, like in the same building type situation. And I think if we're able to do that, I've picked out the building that like has the premium views. So I really want to try to keep us all together in that. So we've scoped all that out, took lots of pictures today. So I will be sharing all of that with you tomorrow. I am still waiting on the final call so that I can tell you what pricing will be. Okay. What I would like to do is tell you what your room pricing is going to be, so that you know what that is, so you can schedule appropriately. That way you'll know if you want to come in a day early or not to do the offsite activity that I have planned for us. I also want to tell you what the entire cookie set will be, and what the price for the retreat will be, okay? And I am, what is that noise? I don't know what that is. I hear a buzzing. You guys don't hear a buzzing, do you? You okay? I also want, I don't know what I was trying to tell you. Oh, and I also need to know what is going to be involved for us to have the conference hall 24 hours a day, because one of the things I'd like to do is have evening activities, but I think that time of year we probably need those to be indoors because it might still be chilly. And in fact, I saw my first snow of the season today. We went and had lunch before we went on our little tour. So we were in the Skyline Lodge in the dinner hall. So nice, beautiful view. I looked out. I thought it was just a heavy rain, but then I said to Brian, it's not coming down fast enough to be that big. Is that snow? And he's like, no, it's not snow. And so I walked over the window. Sure enough, snowing on top of the mountain today. So much fun. So there it is, you guys. November 2nd, and I have seen my first snowfall. So I feel fantastic about all things like that. All right, let's jump into our cookie. I will keep you updated on the other. You can ask questions, but I really don't have answers for you yet. So probably just best to hold those until I have had my follow-up with the person that's in charge of events. And then as soon as I know, you will know, I promise. I did have several people request that if we could do it earlier rather than later. We have a lot of people with graduating children and grandchildren this year. So, and pricing and all of that sort of stuff. So initially I wanted to do this in May, but we had to do it before Memorial Day because that's when the prices pop up. And I thought there was going to be a problem with that, but it looks like we should be able to go with what the original dates were. So I'm hoping, keep your fingers crossed, that works out, because it'll make your rooms a little bit cheaper, and it'll make our access to everything up on the drive a little bit easier and faster to get into. Okay. I haven't announced official dates, Debbie, but we're looking at the original dates back in May. So like second week of May, third week of May, but before Memorial Day. Memorial Day week, that's when everything just starts going up in price again. All right, let's jump into our cookie. Jen, if you'll drop me a time lock in there for tutorial starts at 14 minutes, I think that would be great. Everybody from this morning, you probably already have all of your colors made up. We're going to start right in with our brown, which I did tell you this morning. If you don't want to do this part with the brown, you could hide this. You could skip this part. All I'm doing is trimming the tip off my bag to about the equivalent of a number 2 tip, because you guys know I like to use tipless bags. And I am using some bags that I got in a subscription box. So if you notice that it's a different bag, I'm using these just to test them out. So hopefully that's good. Patty, your name on the list. So there's a post in the group. I think it's pinned in announcements, and it says in the Cookie Snack Attack group, and it says waitlist started for Seriously Sweet Cookie Snack Attack Unplugged Retreat. So just comment there so that you're on that list, because I'm asking everybody to keep the interested parties to keep your names there, because once I release pricing and all of that, then we're going to move everybody into a separate group so that it's not cluttering the feed of Cookie Snack Attack or Seriously Sweet. Okay. But all systems look great. So excited. All right, let's talk about this. When you guys are piping florals, if you haven't ever practiced before, it's worth a couple of minutes of your time to take a look at the difference of a couple of things. So you see that this is equivalent to about a 2-point tip. And you see the difference of where I started piping versus what it looks like when you pull away. One of the most common mistakes I see people making, especially on a cookie, and let me just put some icing down so you can see it, just using this for reference. Let's say this is the area that we wanted to pipe in. Okay, let's just pretend I just drew that on instead of iced it on. One of the most common mistakes I see people making, hey Charlotte, how are you? When they start piping evergreen sprigs, Oh, and you guys, you would help me out so much if you would make sure that you smashed that love button on whatever page you're watching from and give this a share to your private page, or jumped on the Cookie Snack Attack page and that little invite button if you'd invite a few more of your cookie friends. We're going to try to get to 1,500 members before Thanksgiving. So if you guys could help me out by inviting some more friends that you think would enjoy this page, that would be awesome. I would super much appreciate it. Okay, so one of the most common mistakes I see is the direction that people go when they start to pipe evergreen sprigs. Most people are tempted to start at the outside of the cookie and drag it in. But what happens when you do that, I need to cut this tip just a smidge bigger. Just do that real quick. What happens when you pipe the wrong direction is you lose that cool point when you stop piping and pull the bag away. That's how you get that neat point. See, right? We're attached. We're letting it sit down. I stop piping. And then when I pull away, do you see how I get that point? So it actually looks like an evergreen sprig if you go the right direction. So what I see is people starting at the outside and pulling it in and pulling away to make their leaves. But you can see that that blunt part on the end, that doesn't look right, does it? So what you really want to do is you want to start at the center, going in the direction you want your sprig to end up, and then pull away when you stop piping to get your point. You see the difference? So practice that a little bit, okay? Because I think that will help you a lot. A lot of you send pictures and are like, why doesn't this look right? I feel like I did what you said to do. But sometimes it's the direction and how large you're cutting the tip. Now, aren't you so lucky that we planned a cookie that needs all thick icing? Okay. So that's the first benefit of this. And the other reason that's good is because everything is supposed to look rustic. The twigs can be a little bit broken. Your underneath part can be a little bit broken. Hey, Mary Ellen, I'm so glad you made it. Hi, Debbie. So this is a good cookie to practice on, okay? Because you know how your natural Christmas decorations look, and they can be a little bit rustic looking, okay? So don't worry about this. So let's start where we're going to do our sprigs. And remember, we're going to do our sprigs all the way around, but leave room to add in that dimension of our gift tag coming in at an angle. So if you piped the brown, just start in this area, go out towards the end. I'm applying steady pressure. Gravity is taking over. I'm stopping about a 1/4 inch from the edge of the cookie, and then I'm going to pull out so I get a point. Okay, so this is making the branch. Stopping, pulling out so I get the point. You guys see that? And let's go this direction on this one, on this sprig. Stopping, pulling. Okay, we're going to make this cluster all, and I'm making them bend in a certain direction, just like it would look if you strung together your own evergreen pieces, okay? So I'm going to keep all of these going the same way. And remember, we talked about that we're piping this at a feature cookie level tonight. We're not piping this at a cookie for profit level, unless, of course, your customers are willing to pay you a higher dollar for the cookies, right? You always have customers that want it as beautiful as possible for the least amount of money. And then you also always have customers, you should never discount this, the ones that want the super fancy cookies because they want their dessert table settings or their place settings or whatever they're using these cookies for to be super fancy and extra level. So you don't want to rule that out. You do need to have something available for everybody, okay? So, but this is considered feature level cookie. This is not regular cookie for profit cookie. This would be, even if you did this as a cookie for profit cookie, this is one of the specialty cookies of the set, not necessarily one of the cookies that you would do every cookie the same way. And you'll see why by the time we're done. This is not a cookie with the pressure piping that we're doing that I would want to do 200 or 300 of. All right, good. So you can see we've got the foundation of our evergreen boughs, B-O-U-G-H-S, laid down there. And now we're going to switch over to our 2 shades of green. Remember, we talked about using 2 shades of green that look very nice together, but using 2 different shades as another way to add a little bit of dimension in those areas where we're not going to be able to get in and dry dust because they're fragile. Also cutting the tips on these bags to be about equivalent to a 2 tipless bag, and then making sure that extra little annoying plastic piece of the tip is out of the way. I start dark, then light, and then dark again when I make my sprigs, okay? So we are going to start at the center and work our way towards the end of the evergreen bough, okay? Now remember, some of this you're not going to see, and always start on a little bit of paper towel off to the side, okay? Make sure if you're just popping on that you say hello. Test your icing so you've got good icing, right? If it's running together, it's not holding that nice rounded shape. You see how when this is coming out, it's holding that perfect circular shape, and I'll show you what I mean by turning it. It's holding that shape. Can you see it? So it's rounded looking, just like an evergreen sprig would be, okay? All right, so let's keep that off to the side. Now what we're going to do is start here. We're going to attach and then pull out, and we're going to break off. We're just going to start piping all these little sprigs. Now remember, I sketched. You definitely don't have to sketch for where you want your evergreen sprigs and where you want the boughs of your tree to start. However, if you do sketch, I reminded you this morning to start with a yellow marker and not black, that I'm just using black for the purposes of the video, okay? Now what I'm going to do is come back with, I'm also still in the dark color. I'm going in between where those other needles are, and I'm going to go in that outward direction. So when I break it off, I'm getting that nice point. By the way, this is also how you pipe Charlie Brown Christmas trees, if anybody wants to make Charlie Brown cookies this year, okay? Now that's a trademarked image, so if you do it, you can't post it in the Cookie Snack Attack group, but I love to see those. So if you want to message those to me, you certainly can. I'll take a look. We just can't post them because they're trademarked, okay? But I love to see all the cool stuff you guys make. All right, let's turn this back around. This is a time where it is particularly handy to have a turntable. So if you have one, it's okay to use that for this kind of cookie. Now, the other thing I want to show you guys, I think that you know by now that I don't fill my bags up in a huge quantity when I'm piping, because I try to reduce the pressure on my hand, okay? So let me show you something. This is probably about half of what I would have in a bag if it was flood consistency icing, and if I were doing a huge batch of cookies. I'd be using my 10-inch bags and really filling those up. And then I would be on a 10-inch bag, I'd split the difference, and I'd be grabbing it in the middle and letting the weight hang over on my hand so that I'm only moving icing from where I'm holding to the tip. So these are smaller bags. So if you see me holding at the top near the clip, it's because it's already a smaller bag. And this is technically halfway on what a full-size bag would be, okay? But make sure that if you start to have trouble with the pressure piping and it's pulling in your hand, it means that you've got either your icing's too thick, or you're using too much resistance, or you're pushing the icing too far. Just come down a little bit on the bag. Make sure it's sealed off good at the top so you don't blow it out the top. That would be good for your blooper reel, but not good for cleanup. So start a little lower so you're moving the icing less of a distance, okay? All right, let's get back to it. Now, don't worry if these break, because these are sprigs. It's okay if they break. Do you see how that broke off? So I'm just going to set it back down on top. You're not even going to notice that. So this is a great cookie to practice on as you start into your holiday florals, okay? It's going to be fabulous. I also really like this style of cookie during the holidays because you're kind of spreading out. You're using maybe the same volume of icing you would be using if you were cookieing for profit, but you're spreading it out in a different way by doing this fancy piping. So you're going to end up with less icing around the edges and more of the icing concentrated in your 3-dimensional flower, but still not a bunch more icing than you would normally be using. So I like that about these kind of cookies, because this is a super fancy cookie that when we're done, you're still going to be able to tell that it's a cookie. And sometimes I like that. There's a lot of display pieces and feature cookies, competition pieces even, where I like for them to be guessing whether it's a cookie or what I made it out of. But in this instance, this is going to be something that maybe you're going to put the gift tag on with someone's name, or it's going to be at their place setting for your holiday meal. So you want it to be obvious that it's edible art. Excuse me. I got to do a lot of chit chat today, so my voice is about shot again. So you want it to look that obvious that it's edible art, right? When you're piping a cookie like this. But so in this case, rather, is what I meant to say. It's okay that you see naked cookie underneath. Now, my cookie, some of this black may show through, but don't worry, because I have another one I'm going to pipe for you probably tomorrow. I'll just put a picture of it up. I'll thin this icing down so that I have more flood consistency icing. And once I've done that, I'm going to pipe one of these for you where the background is done more like you would do it so you could go faster if you're cookieing for profit. Okay. So that way you'll have a couple of ways to approach this project. I piped a 3D Christmas tree last year as a special thing for April Kalanchik's Cook Years Live as a bonus tutorial for the people that attended that. I did a 3D Christmas tree, and it's about 6.5 inches tall, and it was all piped with these individual pressure piping of all these different little pine needles, which of course is a labor of love because it does take a long time to do this piping, but it's so totally worth it because it's so realistic looking on your cookie, and that just makes it fun. Especially when the little kids are like looking at the fireplace that I did last year, and they're looking at the tree and they're like, "That's not really a cookie, is it, Mom?" You know, and it is. So it's fun for me to kind of hang back and hear what they're saying. All right, I'm still in frame, right? I want to make sure that you're seeing this. You see I'm connecting at where I put the brown lines, the bough of the tree, and I'm going outward. And the reason why am I going outward, you guys? Do you remember? Hey, Nana Sue. I'm going outward so that when I release the pressure on my bag and pull away, I'm getting that cool tip, just like you'd really get on a pine branch. And remember, we're using 2 colors of green to get a little extra dimension. And we're starting with the dark color as the underneath. Then we're going to go to the light green, and then we're going to follow up with a smidge splattering of the dark green. But I want to lift this and show this to you because you could see if I hadn't sketched and didn't need to hide lines, you could actually stop right there, and that's quite attractive. It's really pretty, right? And definitely something that's going to bring you more into that holiday spirit mode, right? But we're going to fill this up and make it a nice full branch. Nice full evergreen sprigs. The other thing I wanted to tell you is, you notice I wasn't being particularly careful necessarily to follow a rule about starting at the back and working towards the front. I kind of was just working wherever I needed to. That's something else that's super fun about these cookies. You don't necessarily have to go in a certain direction when you're making the evergreen sprigs, because what you really need to be focused on is the areas where you need a little lift and where you're filling in. So now I've switched over to my lighter green bag, and we're going to start at the back, and we're going to try to go in between and a little bit over the darker green. We still want to see some of that brown, but I don't need to see all of it. Now, I did tell you this morning you could skip the brown. If you skip the brown, then you want to fill it in really well. But some people just don't like to mix up a bunch of bags of icing, and I totally get that. So this would be considered our highlight or filler color, and we're starting to build. So now it kind of matters a little bit that we fill in all the areas, but not necessarily if we start back to front. Although I will tell you, I find it easier to start at the inside part of the cookie and work to the extremity because I have more, for whatever reason, by the time I've done 5 of these in a row, I have a little bit more control of the bag, so it's easier to pipe shorter needles. And I like, obviously, the longer needles to be at what's considered the back, right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So I feel like I gain more control with the piping as I go to the front of the cookie. So let me lift that so you can see the two colors in action together. You see how you get that beautiful, almost shadowing look by using the two shades? Now, I use 2 different colors. I showed those to you this morning in the morning video, and those are colors I use all throughout the holiday season because they tend to work whether I'm doing a red color scheme or a winter blue. This is just great to work with all of it, and that way I can mix up a bunch of this icing ahead of time and put smaller quantities of it up into the freezer so I can just go grab the color when I need it. And you know, you can't do that all the time, but when you're doing a lot of holiday cookies for a bakery or storefront, that is a great trick to get ahead. So let's look at the two sides up close, right? So you can see what I mean about how we're starting to fill it in. Now, you notice I have a lot of points down here where it's a little more built up. If that was the finished part of the cookie, I would need to be using a scribe and knocking those points down. But we're going to be piping a large poinsettia or poinsettia, however you like to pronounce it. We're going to be piping a large 3-dimensional poinsettia in the center and adding poinsettia leaves. So I'm not concerned about that. So I'm not stopping to pick up a scribe. Okay. I don't feel like I need it for what it would accomplish. It's going to be hidden under the flower. Now, do you see that I'm squeezing and then stopping? I actually am stopping very exaggerated on camera for you so you can see that I'm pressure piping, stop, pull. Okay, coming to the back again, pressure, 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 stop, pull. That little snap at the end is what gives me that point for the evergreen sprig. Can you see that? So really exaggerated. This cookie is great if you've had a rough day and you just want to do something super repetitious. This is a great cookie for that. All right, guys, so don't forget to smash that love button. Leave us some good comments over on the side. And make sure you go back to the Cookie Snack Attack group sometime tonight after the video's over. There's an invite button. All your friends are going to show up, and then you can pick which ones you want to send those invitations to, okay? Oh, by the way, I think I forgot to tell you something. Poinsettia, Texas, y'all. Well, up here, they say poinsettia or poinsettia. So I just say they're beautiful. They're Christmas to me, so season, and I love them. So you call them whatever you want. The kids call them those pretty red plants that they throw away. Isn't that terrible? But that's what they say. So I get it. They know that they don't keep them all winter. Although I have to tell you, my sister's mother-in-law finds the absolute best poinsettias every Christmas. They are massive. They are the most beautiful shades of poinsettia red that I've ever seen. Sometimes she finds large white ones, but they're always full and gorgeous, and they live. They're not one season and done plants. I love them, but she finds the best ones. She has a friend that does greenhouse teaching and horticultural, I think is what they would say. I think that's the right word, but so talented, her friend. And so she has access to these gorgeous plants. And they just scream holiday season to me. So do you see how some of these are breaking? I tend to go a little drier on my thick icing rather than wet, but this probably could be just a smidge a smidge more water in it and I wouldn't have any breakage. But for the purposes of what we're creating, I don't think it matters at all. You see this? So again, you could stop right here. It's nice and full looking, but since you're getting a free tutorial and I'm having a great time with you, how about we just do the one last thing that I would do if I was really making the cookie for a gift. So at this point, if you were in person looking at this cookie, it's super obvious that you have the light color sitting on top of the dark color green. So what I'm going to do is go back and even more spaced out, I'm going to add just a little bit of the dark green over the light green for two purposes. It's going to finish filling in my evergreen sprig, and it's going to give it a more blended look where that light is sitting on the dark. And this is where I would actually come back and do you see how I'm going over top? Let me show you this up close because I think this is important too. Do you see how I'm going back? I'm actually now crossing over the light and the dark when I'm piping this dark. I'm actually giving it another layer and direction on the needle. So I'm still headed down towards the end of the evergreen sprig, but I'm going a little more over to encompass everything. Can you see that? So I'll lift this up. Let me finish these last couple bits here. And I'm not piping as many needles because I still want to see some of the brown. Can you see? Let's see if we can get that camera to focus in. Do you see what I mean there? So I'm crossing over a little bit more so that it looks like on a Douglas fir tree where the needles, if you actually ever study a sprig on a Douglas fir Christmas tree, it's such a beautiful pattern of the needles on that evergreen tree. It's just so beautiful. We took down several trees in our yard this year because they were old, they were rotten, they were leaning over our house and our neighbor's house. So we took it down. So I did decide that I'm going to keep the one big leafy tree that's in my front yard. But oh, look at how pretty, you guys. Isn't that nice? But I am going to plant a Leland cypress tree back where the other leaf tree came down, because I want to be able to do a fantastically decorated Christmas tree in the front yard every year. So I'm going to put back a Leland cypress. They get super bushy. They grow really wide at the bottom. They have a fantastic Christmas tree shape to them. Let's see, let's do a little crossover here. Do you see how I'm doing about half the amount on this third pass? And really, the third pass, not necessarily necessary. I just really like how it looks. I'm going to let you guys decide in just a second about whether we add a few red berries in here, but I think I'm going to do the poinsettia first and let you guys decide from there. Everybody okay? I'm not seeing any questions. So can you imagine? I mean, just think about, all right, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is just one layer, not even all the way around. We've got 9 sprigs going. So we've probably already piped 300 needles. Can you imagine if you didn't do the Christmas tree last year and now you're imagining a stacked Christmas tree with graduated cookies going upward to make a 3D tree, and I hand piped all the needles? Can you imagine how long that actually took? And those of you who did it and you posted pictures and tagged me, every single one of the sets of pictures that you guys tagged me in, you made magnificent trees. They were gorgeous. All right, we're almost all the way around again. Now, the other thing I like, though, guys, for me, it's worth the time to mix that other color up. I really love that you can see the pop out of brown in there still. It just gives it a little bit more realistic look. Now, let's flip the cookie so you can see how we're starting to build up some, but still not so much icing that it's going to be so sweet, right? You see what I mean about how we're kind of spreading out where we're putting the icing? All right, now, I'm certainly not going to tell you my way is the only way. Hi, sweetheart. Penny came to say hello to you guys. I know. Come on, go tell Daddy. Go tell Daddy what you want, okay? Okay, thank you. All right, sit down. Good girl. So she has to come say hello when I'm in the cookie room now. I think she thinks every time I'll pick her up and she'll get to be on camera because she can see herself, and it's like being in a mirror, and she really likes that. That's my little dog that's super prissy. So back to the cookie. This is not the only way you can do this. It's just the way that works best for me if I'm doing a bunch of these cookies. What I like to do is concentrate on the part that's going to be the focus. And the focus for me on the center part of this cookie is the poinsettia petals. So I'm going to do my poinsettia petals first. I'm going to be coming at the cookie at an angle. So if my icing is stiff enough, it's going to be lifted off the cookie, which is going to leave me space between where my finger is now and where those needles are, right? Where the pine needles are. I'm going to just come in. I'll come back in there wherever I need filler, and I'm going to put the tiniest poinsettia leaves. Okay. So I want to focus my first round of icing on where I want the poinsettia to be. Okay. And don't forget, these are out everywhere right now. The pretty gold, shiny, edible beads there. I showed them to you in the video this morning, but go ahead and pick some of these up if you haven't. They're gold sugar pearls. It's just the Wilton brand. They have a beautiful shimmer and shine to them. They're completely edible. Now, I will say this, don't use too many of them on a cookie in case you have somebody that doesn't like candy on their cookie, because they are definitely more firm candy than the nonpareils, which kind of dissolve in your mouth, and they definitely are more firm than, say, a sweet tart. So you're going to see some people pick up the cookie, and even though it adds that gorgeous glitz and glare to your cookie in the center of your poinsettia to use these, some people will pick it up and knock those little beads off. Don't be offended. They just don't want to mess up all their dental work, which is fine. I personally find that these beads soften up once they're in the icing. Okay. So I think it's okay, but some people are not going to want a ton on there, but we're only going to use 5 or 6 on each cookie to make that little center cluster. So I think it's good. I just want to caution you, don't use too many unless it's just a cookie for display. Now what I'm doing is I'm using my rose red. This is the Color by Sugar Art. I'm flattening out the tip. I'm going to go ahead and I should show you how I do this too. Okay. So this morning we talked about using the 67 tip specifically because it has that nice notch in the center. Let's get up here where you can see it. Do you see? It's like it's a petal tip, but it has that notch in the center. So you get that nice vein like you have on an actual poinsettia leaf. So let's look at this next to my bag. I flattened out the tip. I like to be able to switch my bag, and I will be switching the bag tonight because I'm going to cut that dark green a little bit wider. And instead of running 2 tips that I have to clean, I'm going to use the 1 tip, and I'm going to start with red, and then I'm going to switch over to the green when I add the poinsettia leaves. Hold on just a second. Brian, could you help Penny for a second, please? So we're going to start with the red. So I'm going to hold it up next to it as a gauge. Now I can do this without holding it up the tip, but I want you guys to see how we figure out that we can use this like a sleeve so it doesn't mess up your bag, so that these bags don't get all dirty. So we're going to come right here and cut this off where it's going to slip down in. You see how much I took off there? It's going to slip down into this bag like a sleeve so that it doesn't get this bag or this bag all dirty, but it's going to allow me to pull the bags in and out. Okay, can you see what I mean? So now when I squeeze it, all the icing's actually going into the tip. Can you see that? So let me pipe a little here. And you see how we get that nice piece down the center? All right, now let's talk about 2 things. You need to practice before you start piping on the cookie. So let's talk about this first. Just on a paper towel. A poinsettia leaf doesn't have all of those ruffles. Like we would normally use this tip to make those cool leaves. So what you need to do is anchor your icing and squeeze, 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 and slowly start pulling it back. Okay. And when we get to the end, it's going to separate a little bit like that. On a poinsettia, you want that nice point. So you are going to have to use your scribe a little bit and pull this to a point or tuck those ends under, because you need to have that nice point on the end for it to look like a poinsettia, okay? But what we don't want to do, you guys, is stay in one spot too long and create a whole bunch of ruffles. That's a totally different look on the petal. We want a lot of pressure to make it go out wide, and then we want to pull back. And usually if I turn my bag just right, I can get that point without having to go back to use a scribe. Do you guys want to see that again? So anchor the icing, a lot of pressure so that it's coming out to make a wide petal. And when I get here, I just kind of turn it a little and pull away so I can get the tip. And then usually I can just take the tip of this without picking up a scribe and just get that nice point. But you do need to take the time to get the point so that it looks like a poinsettia, okay? Any questions so far? So now we're going to start on the actual cookie. You ready? I'll hold it up as close as I can. I'm not seeing any comments, so I hope it's not frozen. Somebody tell me if we're okay over there. So we're going to start in the center, and I want to remember, I want to keep it kind of up because I want to have room to go back and add those leaves. Also, don't forget, in bags like this icing is going to start to get looser because of the heat of your hands. So you want to make sure you're changing up the piping as you're going, right? So do one red, then go back and do the needles on the next cookie. Do you know what I mean? So split it up so the icing's not in your hand too long. Now I'm going to pipe all of these, and then I'm going to go back and fix the tips. So you see how this is already looking like a beautiful, thick poinsettia, nice and lush. Okay. And not so much icing that when this dries hard. Now my icing has corn syrup in it, so it has a soft bite to it, but this is not so much icing that someone's really going to have a problem with it when they go to actually eat the cookie, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and grab our scribe real quick. And let's just, on the ones that didn't quite come to a point, let's either roll those under, right, like that. You can see that. Or just make the edges join here. But do you see just that little tip, that little tilt I was able to do at the end, how most of these came out already with a nice pointy edge? So I do actually find it's very important to get online and look at the authentic item that you're creating, because it helps your brain already start figuring out how to pipe the item that you're creating. All right, now what we're going to do, I think we look good there. Let's set that down. I'm going to clean this tip off real quick. Also, if you have a damp paper towel, just damp, not soaking wet, but just damp. If you take a damp paper towel, yes, light syrup, and my recipe is set up to do 2 pounds of powdered sugar at a time. So for every 2 pounds of powdered sugar, I add 1 tablespoon of light corn syrup. So if it's a 4-pound batch, if I've doubled up my recipe, you'll use 2 tablespoons. If you're using a 2-pound recipe, then you're going to just use 1 tablespoon. And I am saying tablespoon, not teaspoon, just to be clear. But I don't find that adding more is necessary. Now, I really like what they call Franken frosting, which is like a blend between the recipe of doing straight glaze and doing straight royal. It's a fantastic icing. It has a lot of different uses. However, it's difficult to do things like this and get a nice stiff icing when you're creating these dimensional pieces, because the corn syrup is going to keep the icing softer and more fluid. So it's hard to get the stiff points. It's doable. It's just a lot more work. All right, let's go ahead and get a few more poinsettia leaves on here. Petals. Let's get them in so this is nice and full. And then we're going to add our gold beads in the center. And then we're going to swap our bag out and do the poinsettia leaves. Okay. Now that time I seem to get it turned just right where I got all the nice points. Maybe this one's going to give me trouble here. I think that looks nice and full. I love the color. Now remember, I'm using Red Rose Tonight from Sugar Art. I'm using this one. It's a Master Elite color, very intense color to make my base poinsettia. But tomorrow, once this is fully dry, I'm going to use Poinsettia, which is an elite color, to do some dry dusting, because that dry dusting is just going to give it an additional level up pop to the poinsettia petals. Okay. All right. So let's jump in here. I've got my gold beads. Now, I'm sorry if this bothers you, but I am kind of picky about how I set these, because I like for them to have a more uniform pattern. So I picked a larger gold bead for the center. And now I am coming around the outside edge, and I'm going to go all the way around that. I just really like how that looks. So I end up using 7 in the center of all of these. If that bothers you and you only want to put 3, put 3. Please don't get hung up on the fact that I'm using 7. I just really like how this looks, and I like how it shows up in photography. Now, using the tip of my tweezers, I'm just lightly tapping those in, more for the purpose so that they'll be a little lower. Okay, you don't have to get all OCD and make them exactly perfect and everything touching like I did, but I do like how this looks, so to me it's worth the time. Now, take a look at the cookie. If you sketched on your cookie, you can see that I still have some areas that you can very openly see that there is edible ink that needs to be covered. But that's okay, because these spots that are left open that you can see is where we want to add the poinsettia leaves, okay? And with my little eye, I just spied that I did not connect this, and I want to do that before it's too dry. Okay. You see the difference that just that little second takes for that? Okay, so let's set this down. All right, now earlier today, someone messaged me and asked me where I got the specific designs for the cutters. So when I sat down, I'm going to go ahead and start switching this over. And we're going to be using the darker green. So I'm going to clean the tip. I'm going to cut it so that it'll slide in and out of that sleeve that I made. And you could just cut this like a leaf tip. In fact, I probably, you know what? Okay, let me talk you through this. I could take this red out, put the green in, purge the tip, and I could use this tip. But what I'm going to do instead, so that you get another little learning tip tonight, is I'm going to pop this into a totally separate bag. I could have done it a minute ago before I cut on the bag. I could have done what I'm about to do, but I didn't think about showing you how to do this. So what I'm going to do is put it into a separate bag. All right, I'm pushing some icing down so that I can get a good flat bag there. I've got the seam towards the ceiling, and I'm going to cut this like a chicken beak. And we're going to, that way you'll know how to do the tipless bag in case you don't want to use the piping tips, because I did tell you this morning I would show you how to do that. So do you see how I cut that? Can you see it? So now we'll use that to make our poinsettia leaves, and that way you'll know how to do, an additional skill if you're new to us. Okay, so let me just move my bag clip to the outside of my bag. I'm going to cut this extra off so it's not causing the camera to keep refocusing. Okay, now my tip, what I'm going to do, let me show you on this paper towel. I have the pointy part, I've turned it to the side, I have the pointy part over, and we're going to make the leaves. You see, we're going to make the leaves like that. Okay, so let's get going on that, and then I'll come back and tell you how I plan designs for the cookies, because people seem to find that really interesting. So I see I have a little naked area here, so I'm going to go up under these. I'm going to go up under the leaves and let the icing anchor, and I'm pressure, piping upward. Okay. All right, let's turn it. So I want to get under this red one, and don't worry if you can't get under all the petals. It's okay. Pulling away slowly so I get that nice tip. I'm going to go under that leaf and put another one this direction. Okay. Come up this way. Now let's go this direction. Pull one out here. Let's go to this side. Now tomorrow, remember, we're going to come back and do some dry shadowing on these, some dry dusting, and that's going to make these leaves all very different because we've used the same color green to do needles and these flowers, the petals, no, sorry, poinsettia leaves. So we're going to add some additional coloring to the poinsettia leaves. But I am noticing as I'm looking at this, I think I can squeeze in a few more poinsettia petals now that I have my poinsettia leaves in place. So I can make my poinsettia look a little more full. So don't be afraid to do that. You just need to get under the leaves there and then pull out some larger petals. So this is really something you can play with as you go. My only advice to you, really strenuous advice on this cookie, is make sure that your icing is the right consistency so that it doesn't all melt together, and make sure that on your poinsettia petals that you get them to come to a nice point, okay? And layer it up as much as you want to layer it up. And we're going to go back and push those petals together, okay? Okay, now this is pretty much it for the tutorial tonight. I'm going to tidy these up a little bit because my gift tags are in the dehydrator. So tomorrow what we're going to do is do the dry dusting. It won't be a long video tomorrow, but I want to show you how to do it. So if you start to create these cookies, you have all the pieces, because you don't have to do it on this specific cutter. Remember this morning, I told you you would be able to take this cookie and you could do it on a round. You could do it on a plaque cutter, a rectangular. You can make it on one of the, I don't know, let's say maybe you have one of the pumpkin cutters with florals on the top and bottom. You can just convert that, make the poinsettia the center, and add your different floral piping around the edge. Now, I do want to do one more thing tonight, though, because if I don't do it tonight, it'll be harder to do it tomorrow. Let me see. I just saw a question roll up about what we're going to dry dust with tomorrow. So tomorrow, I'm going to show you how to use the leaf green from AmeriColor, which is what we used on this to dye it. I'm going to show you how to dilute this with both water and Everclear to do a little bit of painting if you want to do it in that manner. Or we're going to be using the eucalyptus from Sugar Art to put a light highlight, to like buff a highlight on for the leaves. On the poinsettia, we're going tomorrow to use, where did that little thing get off to? Bermuda Triangle, that is Amy's cookie station. Oh, here, sorry. So we're going to use the Elite Poinsettia color and put a highlight on our poinsettia flower, okay? But for tonight, I do want to add just a couple red beads, if you guys will stay with me for a minute. I think the icing is still soft enough to just pop these in. So what I'm going to do, let me do this with my tweezers. That way maybe my fingers will be out of the way. I love to add, that happens often. I love to add these in. So I'm going to take just a little bit of green on the back. Hold on just a second. They're bigger beads than I normally use, but it's the ones I like to use at Christmas because they look like holly beads. Hold on just a sec, guys. So I probably should just use my fingers, but I want to use the tweezers so you can see it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that same color green on the back, and I'm just going to pop in a little cluster of berries on each side. Is that okay? You guys don't mind if I take the time to do that, do you? It's alive! It's like some movie. I remember seeing some movie as a kid where somebody was trying to do something with escargot and they kept snapping it all over the restaurant. It can get away from you. So if I had done this when they were wet, you know, we could have just dropped them right down in those needles, but I wanted to keep it clean for you for the purposes of the video. This is what happens when you do this at night. This is more of a daytime thing. So funny. It's alive. It's alive. There we go. Just want a little bit, and I'm using the green because I really want it to blend in. I don't want to use red where it would be super obvious. Now, do you see just how that little bit of extra red is going to make it pop? So I'm going to put a single one over here because I don't want to overdo it. This is a bigger bead, a bigger candy bead. So some people will not want these big candies on their cookie, but if it's your display cookie or your name placard cookies for your Christmas dinner table setting, then they're not cooperating at all tonight. If it's for that, you might really enjoy that. All right, let's pop this in. Right? So there you go. So that gives you what I like to, I like to work in the 3s or the 5s, old gardening thing that I learned, right? You could use the cinnamon red hot candies, Becky, but test it because those don't have the same finish on them that these candy beads, these came from Michael's they came out of this mix. Remember this mix I showed you in the video the other day? I pulled all the red out of here. They don't have the same finish on the beads, so they can get tacky depending on your humidity. So test them, but they do taste great, especially if you do like a nice fun like cinnamon flavored cookie with these. Those would be awesome. So just to explain the odd rules or the 3 or the 5, I've got 1, 2, 3 clusters of red, and I've got 1, 1, 3, right? So I kept it in odds. And then in the center here, we've got 7 of the centered beads there. Okay. So let me lift it up so you can see it. Now tomorrow, when our gift tag is dry, we're going to come back and add our gift tag here. We're going to personalize it first, and we're going to put it in at an angle so that it actually has even more dimension to it. But let's just turn this over real quick so you can see it's really not as much icing as you would think it would be. We just have it done on the cookie in a different place. All right, so you'll see this is super pretty tonight, but wait until we do the dry dusting tomorrow and add that little bit of hand painting to it. And I'm talking minimal. Like if you had a whole bunch of these done, you could be through this last little bit of detail work. And I don't know, on 2 dozen, you could be done in probably 15, 20 minutes, right? It goes super fast once you have everything set up, but it does give you a lot of bang for your buck on this cookie. So super fun to spend time with you tonight. I will be seeing all of you again tomorrow, hopefully twice. Hopefully I'll see you twice tomorrow, once to finish this cookie, and then once, hopefully I'll have some more final information on the unplugged retreat. Oh, and by the way, can you comment go back to that post. I have a company here in Virginia that I would like to use where you guys will be able to order a t-shirt for the event and have it shipped directly to you so that stays separate from the event, because it's not something I'm trying to make any money off of. I just want you guys to be able to all have matching shirts so that we can take a cool picture at the retreat. But it literally was this big burst design that says Cookie Snack Attack and then Unplugged Retreat 2022. Can you believe it's going to be 2022 next year? I can't believe it. But anyway, so let me know if you're interested in that. But go back to the post where you did the waitlist post. Go back to that and say you would be interested in a t-shirt. And I'll just warn you ahead of time, it's going to be one style of t-shirt, a cotton men's cut t-shirt. It will be hot pink and all black ink. Okay. So be prepared for some pink. All right. I will, which part had the cutters? Camille, tell me what you're asking about, sweetheart. I'm not sure. I didn't use any cutters from Wilton. I did use the sprinkles, these gold bead sprinkles from Wilton. Is that what you meant? Oh, and also, guys, if you weren't on part one has the link. I'm sure Jen can drop it in for us here too. But part 1 has the link to my coffee shop site where if you feel that you need it, you definitely don't have to buy it. But if you need it, yes, hot pink, Sally. It's hot pink and black ink, and it's very pretty. I just finished designing it last night. So I'm waiting on to see how many we have to order to get a certain price on it. That's what I'm waiting for. So if it's cheaper for me to collect the money and do one t-shirt order, I'll do it that way if it saves us a significant amount of money. If not, then I'll have you guys just order directly because shipping's only like $5. And that way they can send it right to you so you can try it on and make sure you're good to go before you actually come to the retreat. Okay. All right. Well, what else was I telling you? All right. I'll see you tomorrow. And had a mini set of, the mini Camille. They're at Michael's. Let me see if I have them in front of me. They're at the Michael's craft store, and they were mini cutters. I think I already took mine to the store to pop out some cookies, but they were Halloween, a set of 3 Halloween cutters. And for Halloween, they were used as like a little potion jar, a little like vial, and I forget what the other one was, but 2 of them are kind of rounded in shape, and one of them is a jar, and we're going to use that jar in our Christmas cookies to make a cookie jar, literally to make a cookie jar. And then post, if whoever bought them today, if you could take a quick picture of those and post them on the Cookie Snack Attack page, since they're now 60% off at Michael's and the Halloween things, that way you'll be able to grab them because they're so cute and they're the perfect size to do mini. All right. Thank you guys. Thank you, Sally. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Camille. Bye, Bev. The tag goes on tomorrow, and we do the dry dusting and extra coloring tomorrow, just in case you want to level it up. Okay. Renee, if you're asking maximum number of people, that's what I started to say earlier. I don't know if I said enough that you caught that or not, but we might be able to, and I'm not promising yet, because some of this is about, this was supposed to be a very relaxed event where just some cookie friends gathered to cookie, which I feel like we're cookie friends and we're going to gather to cookie, but it's a little bigger already than I thought it was going to be. So I'm going to say that based on what I looked at today, if we go at a certain time of the year, we could potentially entertain 50 attendees. But I would definitely have to cap it at 50, because if we go beyond 50, we can't be in the location at the price and use the particular conference center. So I'm going to be happy if 20 of you come hang out with me for a week and learn lots of cool things and spend time in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, because they are like one of the coolest places on earth to me. And it's beautiful and relaxing on Skyline Drive. And honestly, let's face it, after the last 2 years of train wreck after train wreck with things going on, I think we probably all need a little getaway time. So this is meant to like revive us sort of thing, right? That's what it started out to be. But I did find out today, if we go at a certain time and what the rates are going to be, once I get that finalized, we could entertain up to 50 attendees. So we will see where we land, but we will have to cap it. We will have to cap it at 50. Okay. All right. Now, that's it for tonight. So I will see you guys tomorrow. I hope you have a fabulous evening, and thank you for joining me again tonight to Cookie and Cookie Snack Attack.